this feeling, right, in our society that's like, how are you doing? You're like, I'm not doing well, but there's nowhere to put that, really. Or there's a place to put broken. Like, I'm totally broken, I'm traumatized. There's a place for that. There's a place for like, this is perfect. I like manifested, I have the perfect life. Neither of them are real.
Yes. And then there's where you are, somewhere in between.
There's somewhere in between of like, I'm a hot mess, my heart's broken, I still like my friends, this thing's going well. How do you make a space for someone where they're allowed to have all of it and like little baby duck steps forward?
Yes.
Not like, get over your grief. Like, oh my God, your parents have been dead for 5 months, get over it. How do you want to rebuild?
Hi, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Simcha Levenberg, and I'm going to be making pizza today with Jen Davis, who is my new best friend. We will be making gluten-free pizza and talking about grief, personal stories, and stories of helping others deal and process their own grief. So please stick around and let's see what happens. Hey, Jen. Thank you so much for coming today to my house.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks
thank you for
having me.
being gluten-free, because it's offering me like a real chance to be at the very edge of my capabilities in trying to do something interesting.
You're growing
without gluten.
edge.
I am, yes. This is it. So one of the things that I so very badly wanted to talk to you about, that as soon as you walked in, I wanted to ask you about, is that you say that you grew up in the Hudson Valley.
That's true.
And it's true that you grew up in the Hudson Valley, or it's true that you say that?
Actually, the last time I was allowed to eat gluten,
Okay.
I happened to be in the Hudson Valley for my birthday in the fall. And I had so many apple cider donuts and lots of grilled cheese on rye.
Yep, I'm loving all of
and
this.
Tuna melts.
Okay.
And pizza
Okay.
at Lola Pizza in Kingston.
There it is. You and I are here today to talk about grief, and good segue there. I've been doing this a long time. You can tell I'm a natural.
I like it.
And let me just get
About
over here. So the thing about grief is that we all have a grief story, and I wanted to know if maybe we could spend not a ton of time. You know, this doesn't have to be Moth Radio Hour, but if you could tell me your tale of woe. And we can compare notes.
Okay.
Because don't you tell this story to yourself all the time?
Well, mine feels a little like fragmented.
Okay.
My grief journey. Is that what you said?
Yes.
God. Okay.
You want to do it in chapters?
No.
Okay.
I just want to do it all
Act
out.
1? Okay.
Just death grief.
Just,
I'm talking
okay,
about.
yes.
When I was 29, my aunt died of breast cancer that had spread to her brain. We were incredibly close family. And then, I'm just going to go for it.
Yep,
And then,
please.
3 months later, my grandfather died, I think from a broken heart, but maybe also from, I actually don't know, cancer of sorts. And then a year later, my grandmother died.
His
wife. They died in the same hospital bed in the Florida Keys.
1 year apart.
Yeah. And then maybe, I don't know how many years later, it was 33, 38, 5 years later.
Okay.
My dad died of a heart attack, and then a year and a half later, my mom died of cancer.
That's the real kicker. How long was your mom sick for?
Like 5 weeks.
Oh, so that really sucks. Okay. That's pretty... Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm smiling.
No, listen, I'll tell you what.
It's a lot to share in one sentence.
I appreciate it. Let's make a pizza, and then we'll
All right.
continue. So here we are. We're going to be very hot here. It's pretty hot. That's like Neapolitan hot.
Okay.
850. So I'm going to turn it down.
I love this thermometer.
Isn't that exciting? So for science, I'm going to time it too.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, good. So now we're timing it. I'm going to drop it in, and then you take it out with the other one. So we don't know what's going to happen. We really don't know. Okay, we're in.
How long are you going to put it in for?
It cooks super fast. So I'm going to turn it in like 20 seconds.
Oh, in 20 seconds?
Oh, yeah. It's 850 degrees in there. It's incredibly hot. I'll cook pizza in like 45 seconds.
Really?
At this heat, yes. But I don't know what's going to happen with this weird stuff. Because it's odd, it's going to react differently. So it may take forever. I don't know. We might want to pre-bake the other one and do something weird. Strange things are happening. Look, because the cheese is already melting. The crust is like totally unchanged.
Well, you can't tell if it's unchanged in a weird
Oh,
way.
no. You see, if I made a regular pizza right now, you'd see like how quickly the heat, like it immediately puffs up. Like it.
I don't think this one's gonna move.
We're not gonna get no. Nothing is changed.
Smoking a little.
That's all good. I mean.
No, but it's gonna be dense. Like, have you ever had like a gluten-free cookie? It's like dense.
Yes. Yeah. Let me stay. See, things are happening. It doesn't look terrible. Look at us. What do you think? We want more. We want more brown. We want it. Oh, that was probably too much. Okay, hold on. Stay.
I'm curious about the amount of cheese that you put on.
You wanted more cheese. I'm going to put a lot of Parmesan on it.
This is the conversation, you know?
Yeah, we're done. Okay, now we're good. Now that I burnt it, now I feel good about it. Okay. Let's turn this, keep this going because we're going to come and make one more.
Yeah, we're doing another one.
Yes. Let's see what we do here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. What was that wow for?
I don't know. The blade somehow got me.
Okay, so, let's try this.
Okay.
I would like for you to take the first bite.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm just going to watch you really, really closely in the most uncomfortable way possible.
Okay, I can't wait. Okay.
Go for it.
It's nice.
You know, okay. We've learned. Here's what I've learned. Way more cheese. You were right. Way more cheese. A ton more cheese.
It's still delicious.
Yeah, because look at the
be
bottom.
clear
We
about
want to
that.
be, I think, so that's why we want to go thinner with the next one.
More cheese.
And then we can put more cheese on it. And then
Still
yeah,
good.
still good. I mean, the crust, what do we think about the crust? Are
I
you
wanna
like a big,
taste-
like, I love crust person? I'm a big crust person.
I mean,
I spend a lot of
I
time.
wouldn't call myself
Look,
that,
but by the way,
I do love
by the
crust.
way, look at, like, that doesn't look terrible.
No.
It really doesn't. And it just tastes like a little mushy. I'm proud of us.
Okay.
And now we get to do better. Now we're going to do the one that I think will be easier. Okay. So in 1978, my grandmother died.
Okay.
Okay. And then.
Were you alive?
Yeah, I was 3 months old.
Oh, okay.
And then my grandfather, whose wife just died,
Yeah.
both of his parents died within the next 2 years. And then in 1982, my father, his son died. And so in a 4-year period, he lost, and a brother died. So he lost a wife, a brother, both parents, and a son in a 5-year period.
So what happened to him psychologically and emotionally?
He was still an accountant. He never stopped being an accountant. He always smoked cigarettes around the side of the house after dinner, but pretended like he didn't smoke.
Sure.
Always had whiskey when he got home from work, and liked to watch TV. Like, I never knew that he was like a deeply traumatized person, but I also never really saw a lot of emotion from him. Might have been a little shut down.
Yeah. When did you know he was a traumatized person?
I don't know anything. He also was in World War II. Like, he was in Italy for World War II.
Yeah.
These people, the greatest generation, like, they have a different journey
Very
through
different.
trauma than the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, yes. All of it.
For better or for worse.
But then you have their children.
Yes. Our parents.
Our parents.
Yeah.
Who have like the beginnings of like psychotherapy in this way.
Yes.
Right? Like, I don't know about you,
Yes.
but my mom would always be like, God bless her, I'm not talking bad, but
You
would
can.
always be
That's
like-
fine. She's not going to listen.
she's
No way she's
listening
going to watch
all the
this.
time. No. Would always be like, I can't do that because my mom made me wear cat eye glasses when I was 7 years old, and now I'm like terrified forever of that. Like, they learned how to accept the parts that weren't going well, but didn't learn how to get out of it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So like, our grandparents just got through with like cigarettes and whiskey.
Just muscled their way through
Although
life.
my grandfather got sober when
Yeah.
he was older.
Okay.
And so he actually did a lot of emotional work. But I think we're the same age about.
Yeah, I'm 46 years old.
I'm 47 years old.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
I would have, listen, you're doing a good job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I think we're the first generation
Yes.
that is actually the guinea pig of what trauma is and how to get out of it.
How to work with it, not how to ignore it, and also not how to be just like
How to go through it.
permanently fucked up by it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that your grief process was all over the place. I'm wondering if you can, what were some of the unexpected aspects of your grief process? Meaning from the outside in, when a person is grieving, we have no idea what the whole experience is like, from finding out about the loss, initial processing, funeral, all the other stuff, then like months after. What are the different stages that you went through? And then what was like, were there any like, you were just like, well, I had no idea that this is what grief was going to be like?
Because I'm writing a book.
Okay.
About.
Congratulations.
Thank you. About, it's like 9 essays on grief with each experience. And I've been working on my dad.
I'm going to move you over here.
Okay.
You're working on your father.
Yeah.
So wait, that means you already got through your aunt? Are you doing it chronologically?
I'm not writing it chronologically.
Okay.
But I did do my aunt.
Okay.
But I've been working on my father.
Yes.
And so it's been for the past 6 weeks. So it's been super interesting to see my dad died suddenly when I was right in the middle of graduate school to become a therapist.
This was at Antioch?
Yeah, Antioch. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like literally New Year's Eve between my 2 years. And he had a heart attack, so I didn't get to say goodbye to him. He's very, very sudden.
He was in New York, you were in Los Angeles. Okay.
But I realized this thing as I was writing it, because it's sort of, my mother's death came so quickly that it just pushed to the side, and I became an orphan, which is different than not having either one.
Yes. But very quickly.
Yeah. But I realized this thing, that because I was in graduate school to be a therapist.
Yes.
I was surrounded by therapists.
Yes.
I was constantly writing about my experience in the world.
You're given a lot of opportunity to process it.
Yeah, and I started seeing clients for the first
You're
time.
probably in the 99th percentile of opportunities to process grief.
Incredible.
Yes. Also, all these young therapists, you just want to try out this new thing they just learned about.
They've
learned it for 5 minutes and now they're the expert.
Yeah, but also this thing of like, I made a pact with myself.
Yes.
Where I was like, okay, grief, like I've tried to outrun you and it did not work.
Yes.
And it just destroyed everything like a hurricane. So I'm going to work with you. These are my 4 ground rules.
So this is like a conversation you had with grief. By the way, this is very internal family systems talk right here. Where you spoke to your parts.
Yes.
And you asked them what?
Well, I said, grief, you're in charge.
Okay.
I'm going to let you be in charge.
Yes.
You run the show.
Yes.
But you're not allowed to drink again, because I don't drink.
Okay.
You're not allowed to cheat on your boyfriend.
Okay.
You have to get all A's in school still.
Okay.
And you're not allowed on my clients.
Yes.
So the second the door
I would say
shuts,
that like 3 out of 4 are for real, but like everyone gets A's in grad school. Like, what are you talking about?
Totally. It's true. I actually don't even think that we got grades, to be honest.
We're going to try the second pizza right now.
Okay.
So you spoke to your grief. Those were the 4.
Those are my 4. And it was incredible because I actually got to process my grief. So I got to actually have my feelings in a safe way. I got to write about it. I got to be very present, and I didn't try to get away from it. And I think that like that's the thing in our culture that we absolutely do not have.
Yes.
What I had. And so that was a surprise. So by the time I graduated, I don't actually have words for this. I was filled with so much, my heart was so broken open. And I had a space where it was allowed to be broken open. So I felt more connected to the universe, more connected to my father, more connected to my clients. So I think it really, really taught me in like an actual moving, physical, bodily way what it was to have an open heart. And that was a surprise to me.
So you no longer work with clients. You're taking a break from that.
I work as a life coach.
What was, and the switch there, this is a fascinating, so how did you, as a licensed therapist, and then you never got licensed.
I got 3,000 hours, I never took my test.
What happened?
Well, I had lost both my parents.
Yes.
And I worked really, really hard those first 3 or 4 years.
Where did you do your hours?
So I had a full private practice. I did my trainee hours at Counseling West in the Valley.
Okay.
Which I loved. And then I forced myself, I got really, really lucky really, really lucky. And this, now my mentor, Andrew, he found me. It's sort of a sweet story. I'm not going to tell it.
Okay.
But he
Save
found me,
save
and
it
I
for
tried
your
to
book.
say he worked with predominantly men.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't know how to work with men. I work with mostly women.
Oh no! Fuck!
Oh, you fucked it up.
I really did.
It's okay.
No, it's not. It's
dough.
okay.
It's gonna be okay.
I know it's okay, but it's not ideal. In gluten, it would be a real problem because now I've just broken the gluten fibers.
But you did. This is there.
Here, there were no fibers to begin with. So this dough is very different. Because of the higher water content, it rips very easily.
Do you think this is gonna be crispier?
I think it should be. We should get more crisp, less dense. Just by the way it's behaving right now, like it really wants to rip in a way that just because what really holds dough together is the gluten fibers.
Sure.
And so now we've taken that out, and so it's just much more brittle, which makes me realize that people who work with gluten, these bakers, these are like masters.
Wait, but maybe that is the recipe that's needed because of that.
That we've gone too thin here, which is too much water. But if we can keep it from falling apart and get it in the oven, it should be very crisp.
When you were telling me about your grandfather, did you also say that your dad died?
My father is also dead when I was 4 years old. Yes, he died.
That's what I thought.
Yes. There's a reason. There's a reason why we're doing this here right now, and it's because I'm a very broken person.
But everyone's a broken person.
Yes, just each in our own special ways.
Yeah, and we all just break at different times.
How you are a creative person?
Yes.
I know you photography.
Yes.
Writing, clearly.
Yes.
Anything else?
I make sweatshirts.
You make sweatshirts? Okay.
He's wearing one.
Okay.
I like to do watercolors.
Okay.
I was an actress.
Yes. I want to know about how creative arts and grief go together and how
such an interesting question.
how that happened for you and if it was useful because there's different ways to process grief and maybe you found something here.
I have a friend on Maui whose mother died, and she makes clothes, and she's a painter. Incredible clothes. And she spent the year making, I don't know what it's called.
This was after her mother passed?
The year after her mother died.
Just so sticky right now.
She beaded an incredible top.
Okay. Yes. I knew what you meant.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Hell yeah.
What do you think is creativity?
Oh, well, I mean, my question was not on just creativity, but my question was on artistic expression.
Okay.
So there's an element of creativity in that.
That feels different.
But it's like, did you stumble upon some sort of
Yes.
rituals or practices that surprisingly helped you grieve? I mean, obviously journaling, that like we all have that. That makes sense.
I didn't for a long time. But what I did do, which was very official actually, so I didn't even think about it right now, is that before, when I was in graduate school, I had to, you have to go to therapy, obviously. And I had a therapist for many, many years at that time who was a Buddhist minister.
Okay.
So she wasn't licensed by the BDS. So I wasn't going to go get another therapist.
I see.
So while I was in grad school, I did art therapy as a woman, and I drew the story of my life on butcher block paper.
So it was one long...
Like it's several long pieces.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I stopped seeing her, and then when my mom died, I went back. And so I actually only looked at this for the first time recently. I drew on butcher block paper the entire experience of my mom's death and after. That was incredibly healing and helpful because the way that my brain got to process there was actually like a lot more language than the previous ones. There's a lot of language, there's a lot of storytelling, it's a lot of figuring it out what happened. I did do that. And then I think in writing a book about it, it's like, it feels like the hallway is opening up. So it feels integrated. You ready? Are you nervous? How do you think it's going to come out? 0 to 10?
I have no idea. I think if we can land it, if we can land the plane, okay. Once it's on, I think moving it'll be okay, But getting it off is going to be interesting. So, okay, we got it off. Thank God. Okay, that was good. Okay, heat up immediately. Okay, if we can get one turn, then we know. Then we'll be safe from there on in. Okay.
Oh, you got a turn.
Okay, we got it. Yeah, yeah. It's just a different adventure. Let's get those balls melted. Yeah. This feels like a nice amount of cheese, right?
Oh.
Okay, very nice. And it's looking like it's cooking nicely on the bottom. You can see the...
Yeah, I see it.
But we really want that. So...
What do you mean you want that?
I want more brown all around.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Can I have the temperature thing back?
Yes, you may.
Oh, it's bubbling.
Yeah, I like the bubbles, and it's great. This is very encouraging for me in and of itself.
Oh, that looks amazing.
That looks good.
Yeah.
You do a little bit more here. Want it a little darker?
No.
Okay.
Do you want it darker?
I want just a little bit right there. Compare and contrast.
Oh.
Now I feel better. That's it. Now I feel. What? You see how it's different?
That song. That was the song. It wasn't your song.
I know. I wish it was. Okay, let's go in. Okay, we're doing it. Yeah, we're cutting. Yes. We're cutting.
Oh, it's gooier.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready?
I am ready. Well, I'm just looking at...
Slippy.
Yeah, what's nice, I'm just noticing here, is like this good open pockets.
Oh, yeah?
In between. Like it did, which means we got puff. Like there's air got in between.
Yeah. You went from the top.
I went from the side, yeah. Yeah.
I went to the bottom.
Okay, that's a normal way to go.
Oh.
What happened? Oh, well, remember, I want the whole piece of cheese, not in half. So look what. So you've still got half in the end. In the end, just the right amount got in your mouth. Oh.
It's slippy.
It is. I don't know. I almost.
It's like Goldilocks.
Yeah. Yes. It's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
I need more water than in this, but probably less water than here.
Yeah.
But I like the way this behaved. Like it doesn't, like if you didn't know, look at, like that feels very bready. See what I mean? Like the people use that word that I hate, mouthfeel.
Ugh,
I know, it's really bad.
I don't like that
But
word.
I don't know.
I also don't like when people say they're in their feels.
I don't like that either. I've never heard somebody say that, and I hate it.
You clearly don't watch The Bachelor.
I don't. I watched Real World season 1.
Still?
And then half of season 2.
Oh,
no,
not now.
No, in 1991 or 1992.
Yeah, with Eric Nyes.
Yeah.
And Julie. It was a great show.
I just want to say, Eric was from New Jersey.
Sure.
He was first cousins with my sister's friend.
Stop.
And I absolutely loved his relationship with Julie.
They were together for
I don't know, just in that one season. I don't even know if it was real, but as a 7th grader, these were adults.
Good. They were adults. How old were they?
I don't know, 20, 22. But as a little kid, you're like, wow, look at these adults having real mature relationships.
It was a good show.
Yeah. Okay, the question I was asking about.
Okay, I want to, yeah.
Which is processing grief, using art to process grief.
Yes.
You did it in 2 different ways at 2 different occasions. One time you did this butcher block drawing of from just the end of your mother's life. Is that right? The whole...
It was like probably me finding out she had cancer to past her death.
Mm-hmm.
But not that far past her death.
And then a few years later, you started writing.
Yes. I mean, I think I wrote the whole time. Like I always journal. Sometimes I don't journal, but often I will.
But this writing project is different because it was like an intentional, I'm writing about the grief experience.
It's also different because journaling is so much for yourself, which is not that it doesn't, like this is going to sound so pretentious, but I think about it all the time, so whatever. There's this painter, Giotto, who painted like Jesus paintings in like 1400s.
Huge fan.
Italian painter,
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
But
First place I go in the art museum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
Yes. We always start there. Okay. Then
So
I go to the
intense.
fruit. Then I go to the
Anyway,
fruit.
the fruit,
And I just want pictures.
Matisse.
Yeah. Yes.
But
That's it.
This painter, he always left a space for the viewer. So if you look at his paintings, you can see where you're supposed to go in the scene.
Okay. And so when you're writing about, journaling is one thing, but when you're writing about grief, you're keeping in mind the potential for an audience at some point.
I don't know, keeping in mind, but it's not as hopefully self-indulgent, right?
Yes. That's what the editor is for.
Totally, but there's also like, to say the specifics of it, you're telling a whole story, as opposed to when I'm writing in my journal, I'm telling the story of generally what my feelings are doing.
Right now.
Or like, I had fish last night, whatever, the most boring elements
Did it
of
taste
my
fishy?
life. Yeah. I had fish last night, it tasted too fishy.
Yeah, I sent it back.
Yeah, so it's different. But I think that drawing is way more, it's way more primal. And emotion, it's more body based.
Oh, I want to ask you this question. Yes,
yeah.
This is so good. Okay, because you've also done a lot of somatic experiencing work.
Yes.
And I want to hear about grief and the body, but let me ease into that by asking about how is it that drawing is more of a somatic grief processing than writing?
Oh, interesting. Well, I think that, right, it's like pre-verbal things, right? So if someone calls and says, I'm dying or I have cancer, my first response, it's like, I just think about the brainstem, right? I'm going to have 3 different responses, one in my survival brain, one in my limbic system.
This is very Dan Siegel of you.
It is. I think that's where I learned
it. Yes.
It is.
Yes.
But it helps.
Brainstem. Like midbrain, amygdala,
we don't even
and then
know that we
cortex.
have this. And you know what the most interesting thing I ever read was, is that they all built on top of each other. They didn't integrate. They're obviously integrated into our brains, but the parts of the brain are not like, they haven't worked together that well.
You mean
over on top, evolved.
So evolution.
Yeah.
I was asking about, and then also does the first part, the brain develops in stages also.
Yes.
Because like you're born and be a lot of amygdala.
Yeah.
And the brain stem.
Yeah.
Prefrontal cortex is coming online. So it's kind of like
it doesn't finish growing your prefrontal cortex until you're 27.
Yes.
And then you get childhood trauma, drugs, alcohol.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I'm still growing a little bit. I don't feel like I'm there. I feel like I got taken out of the oven a little early.
You're just thinking like at 27, I was like,
I was more this one than this one.
Finished.
Okay, so art, more primal and therefore more somatic. And you said that when you hear about a death, you go primal first. The brainstem is the first thing that gets activated. Is that what you were saying?
Wouldn't you say? I would think so.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. I'm not thinking because the feelings come later, right?
Yeah.
And you're in confusion for like weeks. So yeah, the first thing is just a
survival.
gut. Yeah.
Or whatever. Or you're also orienting to a potentially new situation.
Very new situation.
Right? Which is what happens in your startle response. Like if somebody walked in right now, you and I would both orient.
We would get activated.
Yeah.
And then we would immediately get vigilant. And then we would figure out what's going on. Then we would start to calm down again.
Yeah. So if you're like, oh, it's just the dog.
Right.
Oh, fine. I can go back to my conversation.
So therefore grief comes in, and grief is so powerful that it goes past the amygdala down to this primal experience, and therefore art is kind of able to get in there in a way without getting trapped in the cognitive writing or telling the story of it.
It's like how people say you should journal with your
opposite hand.
Yeah, or just journal instead of type.
Yeah, not enough. So I used to write comedy because I used to do stand-up.
Yeah.
And so that was creative. And then I do some creative things, but no, I do not have enough creativity in my life, full stop. And so I can't say that in the grief processing that I've done, to the extent that I have done it, art hasn't really been a big part of it.
Have you had grief experiences on top of losing your father so young?
Well, nothing like that, because that's kind of like sets it up. So then everything else is like a comparison. My childhood was not great. It's not a grand childhood.
Sure.
There was a middle period through adolescence, where my mother was married to her second husband, my former stepfather, and they did not have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of domestic violence in that period.
Yeah.
And so when that ended in 7th grade, then I was just kind of in like a suspended animation for a while. And so I didn't necessarily grieve my childhood as a thing that I missed, but it was certainly, there was elements of grief that are in there. It still comes up now, let me just say that.
Well, I mean, I think grief comes up forever.
Yes.
Forever.
It's cyclical, for sure.
Yeah, but it's also really different losing, right? Like I wasn't fully formed in the creating of a life when my aunt died.
Yes.
You know, I was in love. I got my heart broken for the first time right after that too. So
that's
I
good
thought
timing.
I was going to marry
You need to include that in your grief story.
It is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think I was fully formed enough, right, to know, I've had 29 years with this woman, and I had 29 years with a family intact. Not totally. I mean, I'm sorry, I grew up with domestic violence. You know, but
hey, high fives.
yeah, it's exciting. But the grieving is different because you're growing into who you are. I didn't grow up with my dad. My parents got divorced when I was 1. So I grew up with just my mom.
My parents also got divorced when I was 1.
Really?
Yes.
And then where was your dad when he died?
Everyone was living in Washington, D.C. He was in New York City when he died.
Oh.
Yes.
And can I ask how he died?
He was in Midtown, walking out of a building, and across the street, they were finishing construction on a building, and they were dismantling the crane, one of those huge cranes, and the crane broke. And it like fell, and as it fell, it hit buildings, and he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. So he was walking out, and things were falling, and he ran, and then he just got hit in the head with a piece of marble. Yes, in Midtown of all places.
I mean,
and I've always hated Midtown.
Of course.
Yeah.
Have you been to that spot?
Sure.
How old were you the first time you went there?
I mean, I was going to the city my whole life. So the first time I intentionally went there, I was staying at a hotel around the corner. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm 1 block away. I'm right here. Because I woke up in the morning just feeling off.
Yeah.
And I just felt like there was like the city of New York was holding that traumatic experience for me.
It is.
Yeah. Yes.
It is.
Yes. So that was on 6th Avenue in the 40s, in the high 40s, I think.
Near Rockefeller Center.
Not far. Yeah.
My mom used to work on 6th and 50.
Yeah.
Around there.
Okay.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's horrible.
I know.
I'm sorry. That's so awful.
It is.
Okay, so can I ask you because it's different, right? It's different.
It is.
Also, like, my dad was alive. He just wasn't in my life to the extent that I wanted him to be.
That you would have liked.
And so the experience of my longing for him, there's a different kind of longing when someone's alive than when they're not, right? There's like a longing for me, it's like a powerlessness longing when someone has died.
Yes.
That you can want, like you're a child, and you can't have it. Whereas if someone's alive, it's a different setup, right?
Well, so therefore your grief around your father was probably complicated because were you grieving not only the death and the loss of that father, but also indirectly you're also kind of grieving this relationship that you never got to have with him.
Well, I will tell you, it's like this essay I've been writing. It's called My Baby. I just got my dad's handwriting tattooed on my arm on the 4th of January.
Okay.
After 9 years.
Was that
I wasn't ready.
January 4th was the...
He died January 1st.
Okay.
But I was at a place where I was in water, so I couldn't get it.
These are one of the rules of tattoos?
Yes.
Okay.
But the 2 years before he died, 2 or 3 years before he died, he called me and he said, "I'm so sorry. I wasn't ready to be your dad. I messed up and I love you, but I'm ready now." which is really incredible that I had that experience. But also, I had so much guilt about maybe not being as ready, right? Like I was defended a little bit against my need for him.
Correct. This is at 27. So
no,
you've
this
now...
is at 38.
Oh,
he died when I was 38.
Right, I got
so
confused.
it was even
okay.
older.
Oh, yes.
Right? So my dad and I always had an incredible relationship because we're the same. We're really similar.
So
like,
you were, so there was a friendliness.
Oh my God, not just friendly, like obsessed with each other when we were together. But he just had a life. But so the complication, I think, was like, oh my God, I craved this thing my whole life. And then I got it and it got taken away from me.
24 months of having a version of a father that you never thought you were going to have.
Or having and I always sort of had him, but yes, like later in life, he figured out.
How old was he when you were born?
23 or 4.
So he was a young man.
Yeah.
And he was not ready.
A baby.
Yes.
I don't, they weren't supposed to have me.
So, I would argue they were.
No, I would argue that too.
I feel like it's
I feel
like it's a net gain for humanity. Yeah.
But it is a different, again, like that's a different kind of, like, I guess psychologically you're always sort of growing around something.
Yes.
Right, and shaping around it. But I'm curious if you were so little, you don't have to answer this obviously, but
I love the question, by the way.
Were there ideas that you decided about yourself at a young age based on that you've held on to?
I think, yeah. And that's why I asked you in the very beginning, like the story of your grief, because so much for me of my story around my father's death is like this story that I tell to myself my whole life.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I'm just sitting there, and then I just randomly start going into this, and it's like I'm just literally telling stories to myself to make myself feel good. And so that story is, very defining, for sure.
Yeah. But are you telling yourself a self-soothing story or a story about not good?
Well, it depends on how, if I'm telling it because I want to tell myself a funny story, then I will be like mining every funny moment that I can find from this particularly horrible story. Is there anything funny here? Is there anything? Or then sometimes I'm like, let me just think about how terrible this was, right? So different versions,
But I think every death is different.
It is.
Every single one.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder, I think there were years, I don't feel this way right now, but I didn't expect my 30s and 40s to be taken over by grief.
Right. Well, you didn't expect that your father and mother were going to die at that time.
They died sort of later.
Yes.
So I think that the grief journey starting at 20, I hate the phrase grief journey. I'm just going to keep using it.
I know. What else would you say, Mike?
Grief experience? My grief travels? Sounds like brief travels.
Yes. We have to work on a better name. I know. The word journey is overused.
Not good ever.
Yes. It's overused.
Like my journey with a narcissist.
That's.
I'm just going to do catchphrases.
Yeah. Just only speak in names of Dan Siegel books.
Mindsight. I only had,
I had, in grad school, I had a real dislike for Dan Siegel.
You went to Pepperdine.
I went to Pepperdine.
Why did you dislike Dan Siegel?
Because I felt that I resented the fact that it seemed like he was just taking the ideas that other people developed and then putting like his spin on them and then making them more palatable such that you could buy one book and you would have a basic understanding of mindfulness. When like, I was like, don't worry, I've humbled myself. Whereas John Kabat-Zinn wrote like, full catastrophe. That's like a huge book on it. And then he just comes and he does this little thing and he did the same thing with attachment. And then so I was like, why doesn't he, quote his sources better and really write papers? And then I grew up and then I was having a conversation recently with a therapist who I happen to be married to, is my wife. And we were talking about attachment theory. And she asked if I had any books on attachment theory. And I went and got the books I had. And there were these gigantic tomes, right? Just huge books and like not helpful for a clinician. And then I realized that, this is what Dan Siegel's for people who actually work for a living and don't like have a grad school opportunity to dig into attachment, but want 150 pages on attachments they can actually understand it.
Yeah.
So now I have tremendous respect for Dan Siegel, but it took me almost 10 years to come to this point.
But that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Now that I'm an adult.
I don't have any feeling. I think there was a moment where I was like, oh my God, Dan Siegel. And then Chelsea Handler. Mm-hmm. Do you know about this book? Mm-mm. Chelsea Handler saw Dan Siegel to process the death of her brother.
Oh. You know he's like $1,200 an hour?
Chelsea Handler is rich.
She is rich.
Yeah.
What's the most you would pay for therapy? Money is complicated, and as a therapist, you on one hand, you are just sitting there, and the person is just talking.
Absolutely not. No way.
Right?
No.
But to the untrained eye, right? I have this conversation with people all the time who in my community just never go to therapy and think therapy is weird, and they want to talk about that with therapists, which is weird because if I didn't pay taxes, I would never go up to an accountant and be like, man, F the IRS. Your job is ridiculous, man. But people do that all the time to therapists. Yeah. Just pointing that out.
It's true.
Yeah. I do pay taxes though.
I believe that.
Yeah. My uncle is my accountant, and he's been good for me.
He's good?
He's a good accountant. He's great. Yes. He's in New York, Cantor and Levenberg, a great firm.
Yeah.
He was it was my grandfather's firm.
Oh, okay.
I come from a family of accountants.
Yeah, hence the number talk about the pizza pie.
Those were fractions. But yeah.
I said number talk.
It was good. It was fun. I
is a
appreciate
number
it.
talk.
Fraction is a number. Yes, it is. So you still, as a life coach,
yeah,
because you got your 3,000 hours, but you didn't want to take the test.
Sure. No, I didn't ever get my
hours
kid,
signed.
family, or couple hours.
So you were seeing adults?
Yes.
Or
Adults.
individuals?
Adults.
Yes. Okay.
Adult individuals.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what you still see as a life coach?
Yeah, but I like to work with people. I've just started integrating like expansion brain spotting, somatic experiencing more into coaching. Mm-hmm. I like to work with people who are building something on the outside. Right? In therapy, you're building something on the inside so that your outsides change. Mm-hmm. Or the hope is that. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so fun to build. I work with creative people, different, they all do different things. But watching their blocks come up and how your psychology really gets in the way is so exciting to me. I love building. I just like building and I like action. I think I was probably a really coachy therapist.
Right.
Like I'd be like, okay, can you know.
Well, I love goal achievement with clients. Yeah. Like I like clients come in and say, what are we working on? How are we going to know when you're done with therapy?
Totally.
How are we going to measure it along the way?
Yeah.
Let's break it down into steps. What are we doing first? Yeah. So clients come to you and they are doing a creative, they're writing a screenplay. I'm making up. And in the process of that, they're having like just relationship stuff is coming up for them or grief is coming up for them. And it's an obstacle in their creative process. Is that the kind of thing you would help them with? They're coming to you to work around it, through it, or...
It's sort of all different things.
Okay.
I think that I did have an idea that I never really did anything with, but to do a rebuilding after loss program. Or work with people, because my experience, right, is that like I was a therapist. I loved being a therapist, even though it was never my idea to be a therapist. I loved my clients.
People don't accidentally wind up in grad school though, so it must have been your idea on some level.
I went along with it.
You acquiesced.
But I'm a good therapist because of how I grew up. And also, like, I don't know if you know, like, I went to grad school with a lot of people. Most of those people, no offense, I did not want to be my therapist.
Yes.
Right? Like, you're not looking around being like, look, a room full of therapists. Like, a lot of them, you're like, oh my God, no, please don't talk to me.
I feel that way if I ever go on Psychology Today.
Oh my God. Yes. Do you network as a therapist?
I don't.
I didn't.
I have like I have friends who, well, my wife's a therapist, so we do talk about work. And we have friends who are in the business, but I've never been to a networking event before. And if I ever go to a place and there's a bunch of therapists, like it's a training, I'm just like in the back of the room, like mumbling to myself.
It's a terrifying group of people.
Yeah. Yes.
I went to one networking thing, and then my supervisor was like, "Oh, you're good. You don't have to go."
Yeah.
Because I was like, "This is so weird. The idea of being in a room and someone's like, I'm Bob. I work in addiction." You're like, "Oh, okay, Bob." Like, it's so scary and weirdly desperate.
Yeah. Well, and then you need a specialty, and then you need a good story,
because I think the universe sends the people that you're supposed to be with.
Yes.
My experience, not after my dad died, but after my mom died, because I grew up alone with my mom for the most part. I had a stepdad. I still have a stepdad. But our psyches were like completely entwined.
Correct.
Our whole lives.
She raised you as a single mom.
Yeah.
And then there's a stepdad, but you guys were always
like this.
Locked in.
She was my partner. And so when she died, I had absolutely no idea who I was anymore.
Wow.
And I continued being a therapist. I weirdly, in the room, very much knew who I was, if that makes any sense.
Well, if we're thinking from a parts perspective, because then you're in your seat as a therapist, playing the role as a therapist, and grief, as per the 4 conditions, stepped aside and allowed you to work. So it was a respite.
Totally. And it was the part of me that wasn't broken, because I felt so broken.
Yeah.
So that part was the only part that felt like, and I would argue that part sustained me through so much pain. But then when I was like, I can't be a therapist, like I need a minute. I don't have any idea. I mean, I needed a minute after 3 years, right? So, and then COVID happened, so it was, but I then felt this feeling I'd never felt in my entire life of like, oh, I have no idea how to proceed and what to do. And that, I think, ultimately years later, not that many, but like 4 years later, came down to this idea that it felt like a real betrayal to rebuild a life without my family. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that you are, by moving on, you're leaving them behind.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I was like, I would love to be there for people in a way that's not like, get over it. It's not just a betrayal. It's getting you further away from a moment where you felt safe. Oh, I know what I'm saying.
Ooh.
So this feeling, right, in our society that's like, how are you doing? You're like, I'm not doing well. But there's nowhere to put that, really. Or there's a place to put broken. Like, I'm totally broken, I'm traumatized, I'm da-da-da. There's a place for that. There's a place for, like, this is perfect, I, like, manifested, I have the perfect life.
Yeah, that's a very, I don't know where that place is, but
Neither of them are real.
Yes, but and then there's where you are, somewhere in between.
There's somewhere in between of, like, I'm a hot mess, my heart's broken, I still like my friends, this thing's going well. But so how do you make a space for someone where they're allowed to have all of it and like little baby duck steps forward?
Yes.
Not like get over your grief. Like, oh my God, your parents have been dead for 5 months. Get over it. Like, how do you want to rebuild with kid gloves? I don't think that we have that.
You're right. It's either you have to be wearing a black dress and just like eye makeup running everywhere, sobbing.
Yeah.
Or you're supposed to be you've processed your grief. You're all full, and you've done it, and now you're just on your way back. But the messy process, and then not having a place to do it, is lacking in our society.
Yeah.
I would say Judaism does a good job with grief.
Judaism does such a good job.
It's one of the things we do best.
I also like the year marker.
Yes. Yeah.
But also, there is one thing that...
And have you ever been to a Shiva house?
No.
Okay, so the person dies. You bury immediately.
No, I know, yeah.
Burial immediately, right? And then for 1 week, the mourners stay in their house, and they sit on low chairs, and they cover up all the mirrors, and everybody in their life comes to visit with them. And you spend the whole week just talking about how sad you are and how amazing this person was, or how angry you are and how frustrated you are. Just whatever you want. You're just moonlighting as the center of attention in your own house for a week.
I would like to go there, but also I don't understand. Will you explain to me why the low chair?
Yeah, just because to sit on a high chair is, you're like it's a kingly thing. So you're on a low chair just because you should really be on the ground, just like, just like really in the shit.
So it's a symbolism of emotional.
Yes, you don't.
State.
Yes, you wear torn garments for the week. Like
incredible.
you tear your shirt all the way down. Like if you're wearing 3 shirts, I don't know why you're wearing 3 shirts, but if you were wearing 3 shirts, you would tear them all. Then you just wear those shirts for the week. You're just wearing loose clothing.
So there's just a bit like bare skin?
Not bears. You can I like a little bit, but you can't really see because you have an undershirt on underneath.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're just like a wreck for a week.
Yeah. But a week it's an incredible, but also isn't there a thing where there used to be like, after a year, what happens?
Oh, so then you mourn for a whole 11 months of mourning.
Yeah.
Right? And then, and so that means you're going to the synagogue to say certain prayers, and you're also you don't go to weddings. You don't do a lot of, it's actually like a real, but my Larry David parts are always like, I always see people who are mourners and they're like, I can't go to your bar mitzvah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And that they're secretly happy because they didn't want to go to the bar mitzvah anyway. So there's a lot of using it for an excuse. But then after that, then every year on the anniversary of their death, then you go to the synagogue and you say more prayers, and then you have like you have friends over and you do something nice. And it's like this yearly thing. I go graveside to visit my father every year to the cemetery in beautiful Woodbridge, New Jersey.
Yeah. You pilgrimage there.
I make a pilgrimage, yes.
Every year.
Every year. And then I do like a whole East Coast cemetery tour because I visit my uncle and then I visit the Lubavitcher Rebbe who's buried in Queens. And then, yes, I'll do like 3 or 4, just bounce around, go to cemeteries every day.
My people are all cremated.
Ah, okay.
Which I don't, which is hard.
Yeah. Where are the remains?
A lot of different places. Mm-hmm. A lot of them are at my house.
Okay.
East LA.
Yeah. Okay. That's where they want it to be.
I have my mom like in a I don't think it's it's like a thing I got on eBay.
Yes.
And she sort of faces the front door. So in a way it is protected, but there's nothing like that. I try on the anniversary of my mom dying. I mean, my dad's anniversary, it's New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. So I always try to, but like this past year, I got 5 girlfriends together and cooked them dinner.
Ah, yes.
As like
this is nice. Yes.
Thank you for being here in my life. So I try to do as much ritual as possible.
Yes. I love that.
That feels important.
Yeah.
But overall,
what did you make? What was your anniversary of my mom's death dinner? Yeah. Were there apps and a nice little salad?
I'm about to drop some restaurant names.
Okay, here it is.
I made the good ass salad from All Time.
Okay.
Los Feliz.
Okay.
I go there a lot. I made something from this restaurant I worked at for a decade in New York. What did I do? From Il Buco. Oh, it was like zucchini with olive oil and parmesan and pine nuts.
Okay. Yes.
And then I made this gluten-free pasta.
Of course you did.
From the New York Times cookbook that I actually did not really know how to do, and my friend Amy had to come finish it.
Thank you, Amy.
But it was like, what was it? Anchovies? Sardines?
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
And then I got a dessert.
Okay.
That was not very good, but that's what it was.
If you could do the dessert, if you get a mulligan on dessert.
If I could do dessert differently?
Yes, for the ritual anniversary of my mother's death, dessert, your preferred dessert would be?
Cupcakes.
Oh, okay. A particular flavor? That's great.
I like a vanilla cupcake.
Okay.
I don't know. It was fine. I don't care about the dessert.
Okay, you're not a big dessert person.
No, I like dessert.
You like dessert.
But
I feel like we should...
Maybe it was perfect.
What was your mother's dessert growing up?
Oh, my mom loved creme brulee. I don't know.
No, I'm out. Yeah, it's not for me either.
It's too sweet.
It's just everything, the texture. I'm not liking any part of it. It's fine. It's a fine dessert, but I would never order it. I don't care for the top either.
We used to go to this place in Florida where they did bananas Foster. Have you ever had bananas Foster?
I have had bananas Foster before.
They set it a flame at the table.
Yes.
It's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
It's very Mad Men kind of a vibe. You feel like real. Yes, like you're getting a Waldorf salad. with that and ambrosia maybe.
No,
and
steak and filet mignon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, what do you feel if I leave here?
Yes, when you leave here.
When I will, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
No, it's really...
Yeah, I have a guest room.
I don't want to stay.
You're allowed to. I'm not kicking you out.
When I leave here, is there a question that you're like, oh,
I didn't
I
ask.
wish I asked that question.
Thank you. I had... I want to say that I got a lot of these questions you answered in the process.
Yeah. Well, the questions are a little bit like the pizza.
How so?
Like you follow the ingredients, but it's gonna come out how it's gonna come out.
I thought you were gonna say a little bit thick with too much water.
No, that's like the weirdest burn ever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start saying that to people though. You're a little bit thick.
Your questions
with too
are
much
kind of
water.
like the pizza. Hold on. Just how? Okay. Here's the thing.
Okay.
There is a sense. This is the only, and I promise we're gonna stop right after this.
Okay.
And you mentioned kind of this also, how grief was a superpower for you in a certain way.
Yes.
Because it allowed you to experience life in a whole different way, or it was kind of like the tool where you were able to just be in life in a totally different way, authentically in what was happening. I'm wondering, is there a sense in our culture that people do not celebrate, might be the wrong word, but like really like enjoy the process of grieving, you know? And because there's kind of like, I have to process my grief such that I can get beyond it. But my question that I would have been sad if I didn't ask is that, in which ways are you honoring and celebrating the opportunities that grief has offered you? Just for yourself. This is not a silver linings playbook.
No.
Like you find the good in this.
Well, I think the very basic idea that like what processing is in a lot of ways is feeling your feelings until they stop happening, right? And it's, in our culture, we don't even get to that part, right? So it's like...
name it to tame it.
What
Get
does
it
that
out of the
mean?
way. It's bullshit.
It's so weird. It's like it feels really good to be honest about how you actually feel. Yes. But I think that it's like often any feeling that we have is then like, oh God, I have a feeling I'm going to buy something. But it's, we're dodging them. And so there's something I think that's so incredible in me now that I have faced so many of my own feelings that I feel really strong in a really beautiful way. That feels kind of new, I have to say. That I can say like, oh, it's my nature to be very present. It's not like a total surprise, but...
the intensity of the grief.
Yeah. And that I actually walked through it with a lot of grace. It may be more grace than was needed. Honestly, I kind of wish I'd made a bigger mess. But I walked through it, and so now I get to say like, oh, and also that when other people are suffering in any way, this has also always been my nature, but to just like be with them.
To not fix, to not make them feel better.
I don't want to fix myself as much, and I don't want to fix others as much. I want to really highlight that as much.
Well, you like projects, but your projects are people working on, the people are not the project, their projects are the projects. So it's different.
That's
it's not
the
like you're trying,
hope.
yes.
No, I want to change people all the time, obviously.
No,
I don't think I'm something that needs to be fixed. I think I just feel like, oh, this is the experience of living, and what an absolutely beautiful experience it is.
That's a nice place to stop.
Thank you for the pizza.
You're welcome. I'd like to bring you back another season when my gluten-free pizza is like ready.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, ready to, because this is the first time.
I'm going to eat this.
This is the first time. So next time you come back, it'll be like, you'll get to see the evolution, and we can go back and look at the tape and compare all of the doughs.
It's true.
Yeah, this went really well. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
I appreciate
for having me.
Takeaways from Jen. First of all, the pizza was very interesting to me, and I really want to speak to that because I was resistant and ambivalent towards making a gluten-free pizza. And I'm glad that Jen's dietary needs forced me to like learn new things, because I think there's something here. And I'm looking forward to working with gluten-free pizza in the future, and maybe really coming up with something that is comparable to some of my favorite pizzas that I'm making. Okay, now it was a good talk about grief. I feel like we got through the major ideas that I wanted to focus on. I wanted to hear Jen's experience with grief and kind of that story and how she processed it and what she learned from it. And we got to do that. And I got to hear about the butcher paper project that she did, this story that she told in picture form as a way to process grief. Just sounded like an amazing idea to me. And I was really moved by that. And yeah, and it was good. Also there's this other piece that stuck that I want to dig into more about the primal experience of grief, and that being this like raw experience that is beyond emotion, even instinctual, we said about it, and kind of how that is such a change event in a person's life to really change the way they experience life in a more fuller and a way that you can't avoid getting all the way into it. So I want to dig more into that. But yeah, I thought it went really well. I was excited, and I look forward to you guys enjoying it.